We are back with another Armfighter report. It is Wednesday, October 4th, 2023. With me, El Capitano, Matt Ellis. And today we are about to find out about this newly announced BMF arm wrestling series from the man himself, Ryan Johnston. How are you, sir?
All right, how are you guys?
I'm good. I don't know about Matt. Tell
Busy.
me,
Good.
what made you decide to present a BMF belt next year?
I don't know. Arm wrestling's been kind of falling off in the Kansas City area. So I wanted to come up with a way just to get everybody involved. And I think most of it is just because, outside of Fallen Heroes and maybe Brian doing a tournament each year, we're not doing a lot around here. In St. Louis, you have Denise putting on 20 events plus strongest badge, plus you're close to, Chicago, and there's just a lot going on where you guys can continue to build where it's essentially me and sometimes Brian putting on events. It's just fallen off because I've had kids. And the other driving force was Worlds being in Greece next year. I don't want to, panhandle over the internet and ask for, donations and stuff. I'd rather work for my money. So the other part of that is I'm going to put on these events and just pocket that cash, send myself to Worlds, be my own sponsor. Um, but the main thing is just to get arm wrestling going. I get 15, 20 guys out at my house each week for practice. Bo Olison out at his Psycho Arm Sports compound, which is about 45 minutes from here, gets, 15, 20 guys a week. We got probably another 30 guys up in Nebraska, probably another 100 guys just kind of scattered throughout the Kansas City area. So there's no reason these guys aren't showing up. I'm thinking maybe the competition's just too high at the two events that we hold each year. You get strongest badge, for example, in St. Louis. Well, the average mid-class pro puller's going to know they're going to go and get their ass kicked normally pulling at that tournament. Where I thought I'm going to do tournaments. I'm going to put every WAF weight class I can think of outside the little kids, 143 and up. So I'm going to do 165, 176, 87, 98, 220, 242, and then heavies. Like that covers everybody. So I'm going to get everybody nice medals in the pro classes. I'm going to, get amateurs medals. They're not going to be as nice as the pro, but I'm going to, get standard medals that you'll get at any tournament. Bill, you do things like I do. We spend money. We get nice stuff for our tournaments. So especially for the pros, I'm going to get nice medals. I kind of put it out there for a vote on the Kansas City Arm Wrestling page today about what medal I should use because I got three options back from the design company the metal company I'm used to, or using. Sean Hancock gave me the information for the company that he's been using and thought his medals looked nice for the past year or so. Now I wanted to use the same type of company, and he's like, "Oh, I use this company," and tell him that I sent you, reached out. They're working with me. They're going to try and get it done for the 9th. If it's cost effective, they want to upcharge me a bunch for doing a rush order, then that's going to change things. But I'll figure out something nice for this first event and then use the medals that I posted today in this last two. Um,
I'm pretty sure
essentially,
I'm pretty sure they're using the company that I sent to him, so I don't think you'll have a problem getting those by December.
is it Hasty or something like
Yep,
that?
yep, yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's who you use for the medals for the amateurs and
Strongest
strongest.
badge, yeah.
Yeah. No, I've been impressed with the stuff that I saw. Um, I kind of mocked up a design and sent it to them, and they sent me one back, and it was pretty much the exact thing that I sent them. I was like, no, 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 no. I want something creative. I'm not creative. That's why I'm going to you guys to create this. And they sent me back the stuff that I posted today, and it looks a lot better. I really like what they came up with. Any of the three options are going to look great. And the main thing behind the you know BMF belt and the BMF kind of theme is, what do arm wrestlers like? They like slogans. They like the stuff that you can yell yeehaw in a crowd. You want to go out in the middle of a field, light a bonfire, and yell, "I'm a BMF." Type. You want to be the baddest dude in the bar, and I want something that shows that to the guy that can come and win the most matches win the most classes and show up to each of these events. And you're going to get the belt. I could have got it for 180 bucks. Well, I went with the highest quality plate, so that upcharged another 80. I went with the highest quality leather, that upcharged another 100. So, being a replica belt that could have been, 180 bucks and being closer to 400. So I'm hoping that it shows up and it looks just like the one from the UFC. UFC sells one, but the UFC charges 800 bucks for theirs, and I'm just like, I got to make some money off this. I can't, I can't lose. I lose money on Fallen Heroes every year, so I can't lose money on these events that aren't a charity event. So gonna gonna see how that ends up, but that's a long way of saying how it kind of ended up here. Is one, trying to garner more interest in arm wrestling around Kansas City. Two, trying to get guys to come here and compete with the guys that are in Kansas City because we have some of the best pullers in the country around Kansas City. And three, just support myself to go to Worlds next year because Greece, we just had a second kid literally a month and a half ago, and I mentioned that Worlds was in Greece whenever they announced it, a week ago, I think. My wife's like, we should go do that. Like, you don't have to say anything more to me. I'm gonna try and make us not spend our own money as much as I can, but I don't want to play the sponsorship game. So I'm gonna sponsor myself by doing this.
Are you getting a good response out of Kansas City so far? I know it's new and fresh, but
Yeah, man, I've gotten a lot of out of town guys reach out to me. One guy reached out asking me if that's probably a good distinction here. The first event's called Mocan State, Missouri, Kansas. We're right on the border here in Kansas City. Probably 50% are on the Kansas side, 50% on the Missouri side. Well, Denise Waddles does Missouri State in St. Louis every year. So somebody asked me, is this a Missouri State title? No, it's not. It's not the official, USA does their own Missouri State. If anything, this is WAF oriented, and this is MoCan. This is Missouri, Kansas State. You're not going to be a Missouri State champion. You're not going to be a Kansas State champion. You're a border state champion because it's essentially the best of two states over on this side, Missouri and Kansas. And I'm hoping St. Louis comes over and represents the best that they have too. But it's not, it's like any state tournament. It's kind of anybody can come win a state title. But that's what they want to know. Like, am I going to be able to say I'm a Missouri State champion? And I told them no. Go to Denise's tournament if you want that. It's on November 4th or something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head, but that's the Missouri State Championship. I'm not trying to step on her toes. I just needed a name for the event, but in addition to the medals, I'm getting plaques that do say Mocan State Champion, just because it's different in my mind. It's not the same. You're not one state champion. You're a border state champion.
what
It'd be
about
kind of
by
like,
state?
yeah, it's kind of a bi-state champion. It'd be the same like if, Bill, if you decided you wanted to run a tournament, Mo Ill State
Mm-hmm.
because St. Louis is right on the border. You don't want to do it just a Missouri State. And also, Denise is from Montana. I'm from Missouri. I still feel like I have some right to kind of claim the Missouri state, but I don't want to fully take that from her because she's been doing it forever. So that's kind of the idea. I want to talk to Denise. She's been in World, so I have a message out to her. Hey, let's talk. Just to make sure she understands. If it's a huge deal, I don't want to. Denise is the last person's toes you want to step on. She's done everything for everybody, and if she has a huge deal with it, I'll change it to Kansas State. It's just I have more connections on the Missouri side, so I didn't want to have Kansas State at a Missouri venue. So it's the other reason why. It's just kind of a lot of little things. But at the end of the day, it's just a name, and just going with that for now. And it's going to start of the BMF series.
Baddest motherfucker.
Yeah,
I like it.
that's motherfucker. That's the idea.
Two
I like it.
belts, a left hand
Just
and a right
one.
hand.
No, just
Okay.
one, just
Oh,
overall.
hurting my heart. Hurting
Yeah,
my
you
heart.
got so it works this way, and it's probably a good opportunity to kind of get into the points, right? So let's say this. Let's say, Matt, you're what, 187, 188, given depending on the day.
Yeah, I just got back from the Bahamas for a week, so we're a little heavier than that.
220. Who knew?
Yeah, there you go. Now we're warm.
So
Not that heavy.
we got
Are you?
that's the good thing about
Shit.
all these multiple weight classes is you can, if you're from St. Louis area, I believe,
Mhm.
um, you can drive over and weigh in the day of and have a weight class that you're not too far out of. So that's kind of the idea of all this too. Um, but So let's say Matt pulls 198 left-handed, probably one of the bigger classes because that's one of the marquee classes. Let's say there's 20 people in his class. Well, you get 1 point for every win. So let's say he pulls and he wins undefeated. He gets 7 wins. I don't know how many it would take to win the class. Then you get 1 point for every person in your class if you get first place. That's 27 points. So let's say the person that pulls right-handed gets third left-handed. So they get 0.5 points for every person in that class. So they get 10 points plus 1 point for every win. Let's say they get 5 wins. They just got 5 points or 15 points overall left-handed. Matt got 27. Matt made up the difference between right and left-handed because he did so well. So it's not guaranteed. And the other thing is, let's say Fallen Heroes is the second tournament in the series. Probably going to be the most people. Matt comes, pulls Fallen Heroes. Same thing. Maybe there's 30 people in his class. Probably, 20 is probably far fetched for this event. I'm hoping to fill the classes with 10 each. That'd be a great tournament. So let's say Fallen Heroes does have 20 people there. Well, he just made up some more ground. And let's say other people show up to Fallen Heroes though, and then right-handed, some out-of-town people ended up beating out the people who Matt have been competing with. So they don't get any points for right-handed. Matt kills it, gets 27 points again for left-handed. Matt's at 54 points. We're second place, pulling right and left-handed. Let's say they're at 40 points after all that. So it doesn't necessarily knock you out. My idea is keep it at that. And then that also brings up the BMF class. It's an open class just for points. So you charging half price of regular entry. Matt now enters the BMF class. It's seeded by weight. So top is heavyweight. So Cody Merritt's up here. Bottom is, Roman Gromov. He's there. Roman walks through the bottom path. Cody walks through the top path. Well, even a fatigued, tired Cody's going to beat Roman. Cody wins. But Roman just got a bunch of extra points because you get 3 points for everyone in the BMF class. And then he gets second place. You get the points per placing. So let's say you have 20 people in the BMF class. So Cody got 27 points, or actually probably like 31 points or something like that. Roman just got 30 something. Let's say Matt pulled and he got third place. And along the way, he won 5 matches. So he got 15 points plus another 10, 25. So Matt got 52 points just from one event. So that's kind of the idea. It's not guaranteed. If you're dominant one arm, you still have a chance. So everybody has a chance at this. Let's say Michael Todd. Michael Todd loves belts. He loves awards. Let's say he makes the Fallen Heroes. He's always wanted an axe. He messages me every year. It's just timing. So he comes to Fallen Heroes. He walks through right and left-handed. I don't know. No, it just depends on who shows up. But this is hypothetical. He could get 100 points from that one tournament because he's Michael Todd. Well, that may be enough to win it. Or I'm still deciding on this. I may make the finals that I do double points to kind of incentivize everybody else to show up to the final event and get as many points as possible. So long and short, there's 4 ways to get points. Enter your weight class or multiple weight classes. Like I said, the best weight class, the best placing you get or the most points is the class I'll use for your points for that tournament. Enter the BMF class, pull super matches. Super matches, I'm awarding points as well. 3 points per win, 5 points for winning overall. Maximum a best of 5. So you can only get 14 points from a super match. But that's my way of rewarding people who participate in super matches. Also with the idea that you might not do as well in your class. And then, what do I do? The pull your class, super matches, BMF class, and then maybe there's only 3 ways. Yeah, 3 ways to earn points. So this is all an idea I came up with literally a week ago. So I'm hoping that makes sense to everybody, but I'm posting about it. I'm going to continue to post about it. If you miss a tournament, it's not going to be the end of the world. You still have every chance to win it. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do an amateur award as well. So amateurs, you're involved. I think I'm going to get you a hammer, a BMF hammer. Hammers are kind of played out at this point, but I can find a hammer out there and get you a plate that says it's going to clearly say amateur BMF, so it's not going to be nearly as cool as the belt. And then I'm also, if we get enough women involved, I'll get a women's hammer, and masters are going to be lumped into something as well, unless we get a ton of masters. If we get a ton of masters, I'll get a master's hammer. So it's just kind of up in the air on how much money I'm going to spend on this. It's kind of going to be driven by the entries because I don't mind spending money. I've spent about $7,000 in the past 4 days on awards on all this nonsense because I've been buying axes for Fallen Heroes too. So it's I'm throwing money at places.
When thinking about the actual tournament format, are you planning on running the BMF class at the end of the actual tournament itself, or what's the running order you kind of have in your mind?
Great question. I'm going to try and even that out away from the heavyweights as much as possible. So how I run my events is I start right or left-handed, usually right-handed. I go low to high. So I'll start at the lowest weight pro, but this one I'll probably start amateur. So I'll run amateur all the way through, then do masters, women, and then do pro. So start at 65 all the way to heavies. As soon as heavies are done, we'll start the BMF class at the heavyweight side of the seated bracket. So heavies will have to pull continuously that whole time. Try and even things out. That way it's more like an overall for the heavies. But they're through their class already. So they get their award, they get their medal, and they get their points there. But the BMF class is more of a gauntlet for them. So we'll work down, it's seated. So it'll go down A side all the way through and then run a couple B side matches, then go to the second tier. If you ran brackets, that makes sense to you. If you've never ran brackets, essentially, you've been to a tournament. You don't pull just A side the whole time. You go A and B side. But the idea is make the heavyweights pull continuously to the point where it evens out for the lighter weight guys.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, and I'm hoping, I have the belt ordered. I don't know where I ordered it from, so hopefully they didn't just take my money, but it was one of the more expensive websites that had better reviews and the belt looked super nice. I posted a picture of it. So once I get that, I'm hoping I have it by the tournament date since it's a couple months away and I can bring it there and let everybody see it and carry it around. I'm the BMF champion until I give it away because I bought the damn thing.
So you do like a WAL hybrid type setup usually out in KC. I assume you're following that as well. Is that something that you like personally, or do you get a good feedback from that in the area?
I don't really get negative feedback from anybody who's participated in it. I do it just I know Leonard pushes back saying it doesn't save time, but I know it does, especially with the refs. If you have Leonard up there reffing all day, and have Leonard quality refs, then yeah. But I have, I have pro good quality refs. Reffing is one thing I never get, negative feedback on at my tournaments, just because I use Brian and I use Cody Vanderwoord. I use guys that know the rules and are really good at enforcing them. But it's regardless. The amateur classes especially save so much time using that WAL grip, but that doesn't mean that I'm not open to additional feedback to change it, because I do know that whenever I first started doing this 7 years ago, wall was the thing. World Arm Wrestling League, close your thumbs, close your hands, go. I do an altered one. It's more like a ref grip. Anybody who's been to my tournaments understands that, it's close your thumbs, close your hands. They're going to make sure that you're not just doing whatever the hell you want like most wall tournaments do. And then they're going to say, ready, go. The idea, if I went back, would be it's a strict 30 seconds. It's not playing around. If you're not in a grip and they're not saying ready, go in 30 seconds, they're putting you in a rest grip. Essentially the same thing. So that's kind of my thought process, is how many matches end up in rest grip throughout the day anyways. But I'm still deciding on that. I may run Mocan State with a regular format and then use that as my guide for Fallen Heroes and the rest. If time constraints don't seem any worse and everything does seem normal, I know that you, for strongest badge, use regular grips and it seems to be conducive to getting it done in a timely manner. So I'm open to anything at this point, and especially to feedback.
Well, the feedback from me personally, I hate the WAL setup. The close.
I hate it too.
I can do it. I just don't prefer it. Right.
I hate it for pulling because it feels like you almost have to top roll. the way that people can load in, and I hook. So, but at the same time, I kind of, put that aside whenever I'm doing it. Just think what's best for how I'm trying to run these things. But no, that's something I'm still considering, and I'll make a final determination, within the next few weeks, just to see, because it does seem like that grip style is not very common anymore, especially because the WAL, all they do is post happy birthdays to the pullers who pulled for them 5 years ago and don't actually do anything productive anymore.
It is interesting for sure. As far as speed, um, I don't think it probably, as long as your referees are maintaining consistency and keeping control. I don't think the speed's an issue with the grip setup because, like you said, as long as they're consistent with their 20, 30 seconds, or not even if they see that they're not going to get a grip, just ref gripping it up, it doesn't really cause an issue. But I was just curious if that was a Kansas City thing, if everybody just preferred it out there. Because I noticed
No,
most all the tournaments out there, but I mean you're involved in all of them too, so
yeah, no, that's just my fingerprints being on everything. That is definitely something I came up with back for like the second Fallen Heroes, and it worked so great because the second or third Fallen Heroes we had 347 or something entries and got it done in 5 6 hours and on two tables. So it just seemed like the best way to do it. But at that time, like I said, it made more sense with WAL being more prominent. Now it's just like everybody gets their own grip, and it actually is a detriment to the guys around here even training to prepare for that because they don't encounter that in tournaments anymore.
I will say though, even though that the rules are slightly different, even whenever you guys come from that side of the state, you travel and go to the other tournaments where it's a little bit more stringent, I guess, on the setup and things like that. But it seems like none of the guys that are consistently pulling really run into issues as far as like pulling in other style or formats.
Well,
Seems
we
like you guys,
train we train get your own grip almost exclusively at practice. Everybody's just like, all right, get your own grip. We never do the close your thumb, close your hand thing
yeah,
because everybody, I really emphasize, at least in my practices, start straight, don't bend your wrist, get your own grip, get comfortable. And we also don't use WAO rules. It's we've been using IFA rules for the past couple of years because of Worlds being in Florida a couple of years ago. But IFA, WAF, they're pretty damn similar, so it doesn't really matter what you want to call it. But elbow fouls and elbow fouls. It's not running fouls, which I don't agree with. I like elbow fouls restarting the match. Adds a little gamesmanship if you can do it strategically, but also if you elbow foul in a losing position, it should be a loss in my mind, not something I can just reset the match by elbow fouling. Um, and get a running foul by lifting my elbow off the pad and then doing whatever the hell I want.
yeah.
Uh, but there's bad downsides to that too. Running fouls are perfect for whenever you're in a bad spot and you just want to reset the match. It's very strategic, and who knows if it should be, but it's hard to call somebody on purposely elbow fouling whenever they're not in a just blatant losing position. But that's kind of why everybody does okay with it, because the only thing we use WAL is the setup. Everything else is normal rules, so they should do okay over there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know you guys run a practice pretty reoccurring, almost weekly. Just out of curiosity, how many guys do you normally practice with? I know you kind of hold practice yourself, and then there's a couple other groups, but consistently, how many guys do you normally see coming week to week?
So this week was the first time that I had practiced since we had our baby back in August. And I thought it was going to be a slower day, but we ended up having probably 25 guys out. I'd say on a slow week, we have 8 to 10. On a good week, we can get up to 30. Um, I'd say out at Bo Olison's place out in Eudora, Kansas, they probably get 8 to 10 pretty regularly. Probably can get up to 20 or 30 as well. Uh, and then we have a group down in Springfield that's 2.5 hours away maybe. um, it seems like they get 10 or 15 guys out there too, and then there's a new group out in where is it, Hutchinson, Kansas, I believe. Devin Gagnovan and the Gagnovan brothers, and um, Ben LeClaire, the 6'12" guy that's 400 pounds and can crush you like a bug if he wants. They're all getting up there ranked, and they're all heavyweight pullers, but there's probably 15, 20 guys out there too. So, and then, you guys out in St. Louis are within 4 hours as well. We just have so many guys around here and so many great high quality pullers, and that's not even including Oklahoma and Tulsa area that's 4 hours away, and then 3 hours for Nebraska. So in Kansas City alone, we probably have 50 guys consistently practicing on a weekly basis between mine and Bo's house just alone.
Yep. And I would say that, at least from my perspective over the years, the Midwest has always been kind of overlooked as far as rankings and legitimacy of like
Oh
the
yeah.
Floridas versus the coast or the South. And it's
Well, I
always,
mean, I don't think people understand it. At Nationals this year, one guy came out, and he's a coastal guy, and he was ranked, and he's I talk friendly with everybody, but he was kind of overlooking me, acting like, oh, I'm looking at this guy, another coastal guy, and then first match with me and him, and I beat him, and he was a ranked left-handed puller. Like, I don't even think I'm good left-handed, but I would just, it's just one of those things. Like, I think we might be a little bit different out here just because of the experience, a lot of experience that kind of starts and then gets passed down to new pullers, and I think some of the training methods that are done here are a little bit different. I've been to practices all over the country, and it just doesn't seem like there's always a good well of knowledge being shared at these practices. It's more of a competition. Like, you're showing up to these, and I'm just going to try and beat you all day rather than teach you how to do this. Where, at least in my practice and anywhere I go, all right, I'm going to teach you how to beat me. Austin Tevis is the perfect example. He came out, strongest hand I've ever felt, good pronation and top roll, but man, he couldn't hook. I was like, and everybody's like, you need to work on this top roll. You need to work on this top roll. I was like, no, let's work on that hook. That's where people are going to beat you. And now I can't hook with him very well. It's just, I showed him how to do what I did, showed him how to beat me, and now I hate myself for it, but it makes me stronger in the long run. So I think that's where it is. And I'm assuming it's just that Midwest mentality. You guys probably do the same out there. You just kind of share the knowledge, and then everybody learns and gets better, and then they learn how to beat you, so you get to learn how to beat them again. And I think that just kind of grows. And we started out with a super strong group to begin with, at least in Kansas City. Nick Zena, Bill Logsdon, Don Underwood, Ryan Clark, Bo whenever he got back into it. We have world champions in Kansas City that people don't even know of. Guy named Scott Fleming, just a country boy, went out and won 198 in Japan in 2005, left-handed. And we have multiple time national champions. These guys just sit on their couch, and I guarantee if they came to a tournament, they'd walk through everybody still, just from how strong they were back in the day. So, I mean, that's part of the reason why is just you get that base of strength, and they just kind of pass that knowledge on, but they also kind of weed out the people who don't really, because they, you get people who are so strong, they kind of scare people off. And those people who really have the drive to get better, they keep coming out and eventually can compete with that because, you're so strong and people think it's unattainable. I have that problem with some new people. They come out, and especially whenever they're pulling with Austin or me or, a couple of the stronger guys there. And it's like, just give it time. Whenever I started, I was 18 years old when I started, and I was on the little kids' table getting beat by 15-year-old Ethan Fritchie, who weighed 120 pounds. And it took time, and it's a sport that you continue to do it, you're going to continue to get stronger. Like, your tendons keep getting stronger. Everything, arm wrestling, connected tissue wise, and everything gets stronger. You just have to stay on the table. So I try to reiterate that to people. And I think that's why there's so many strong people around here, because they don't have distractions like oceans and mountains and fun stuff. It's arm wrestling or fishing or hunting, and that can't take up all your time. Where you're on a coast, you got a lot of distractions.
Do you think? All right. So as far as the point structure, have you kind of? I assume you did, but have you ran through it and kind of mocked it up a little bit to see what kind of results you would get? Do you think that it's weighted as even as possible, or do you think you're in that good spot? A lot of times, like in the overall, the 200-pound guy is probably the most beneficial. Do you think it's benefiting in the middle, or is it heavyweight topped, or what do you think?
It's not. It's kind of up in the air. It's whoever's class can get the most people to show up is going to be the class that benefits the most. So if it's like in my example earlier, let's say Matt comes out here and pulls 198. Let's say there's four people in 198, but there's 20 and 220, and he still thinks that he has a shot to do well at the 220 class. Well, he could get third place and get twice as many points as getting first place in the 198 class. Or he could just pull 198, get his, 10 points for the first place or whatever ends up being, plus the matches he wins, and, wait till the next event and see how it goes, pull the BMF class and go from there. I I don't think there's really a way to mock it up because it's unpredictable. You don't really know who's going to show up to benefit anybody or any class the most. But my thinking is you can't be the baddest motherfucker if you're pulling three people in your weight classes and I award 10 points for first place. I'm going to give you 3 points for first place because there's three people in your class. So if you pull 10 people and you walk through that class, you've earned 10 points because there's 10 people in the class. You had to beat four different guys plus, deal with a 10-person class. But, like I said, if you have three people in your class, how bad are you? You can be a badass. And that's where the BMF class comes into play. Go prove it in the BMF class now.
But you get points in all the classes, not just the BMF. That's just an additional class.
BMF, yeah, in all the classes, but you only get one class per tournament that you get points in, and I'm going to make that the most beneficial for each person. So like,
whether it's left or right,
but you get points for both hands.
But you're only going to get credit for
one class each side.
One class each side.
Yeah, so I want the BMF belt to be the dude that is the baddest overall, whether you just dominate left-handed like Matt wants to do. And if you walk through every tournament and get first place, you're probably going to win that belt. But I'm guessing that there's going to be people who show up at certain tournaments, especially Fallen Heroes and the finals, maybe. Because Michael Todd was on the belt post that I made. I obviously got his attention, so he might show up and decide he wants a new belt for the wall down there at the Monster Factory. The idea is get as many guys involved, and that's going to even itself out because it's going to create parity in who gets the top three places at any event. So, like, let's say Austin, this tournament, he wants to pull 176 because he wants a super match, which plug out there, Austin will pull anybody who's not in the round robin at 176 or below in this country for up to $1,000. So if you want to take on Austin, Tevis, or try and get the number 2 ranking right or number 3 ranking left-handed on armfighter.com, reach out to me or Austin because he's looking for a match. He doesn't care who you are. Yeah, I've reached out to several people. But let's say he pulls 176 at one tournament, walks through, dominates it, but doesn't want to cut the next turn because he cuts from 190, so it's a big cut. So he pulls 187 the next time. Well, maybe he doesn't get top 3. Maybe I beat his ass because I'm sick of him talking. So I sit there and I say I'm the baddest motherfucker, and I'm going to get first place in 187 every tournament. You should go back to 176, and he loses out on that tournament. It kind of evens itself out where the parity kind of plays in. Let's say Luke Kent shows up, pulls 176 and decides he's going to call Austin out. Well, now Austin doesn't get first place there. The parity's kind of built in. Let's say the heavyweights, we got Devin Gagnaben, Wallace Dilly, Ben LeClaire, all within driving distance. Plus we have Don Underwood, Nick Zena that could show up. Plus we have, Brent Rockers could show up at any point and pull any class he wants, just mess everything up. I think a guy like Brent's the perfect example of probably who would win this if he could show up to every event. He can pull any class he wants, 220 and up. So he has 3 different options because I don't think he's cutting anymore. So he can pull any class he wants. He can get the most beneficial points because he can probably win almost any of those classes outside of like a Michael Todd showing up or, Nick Zena. But who knows? Nick Zena is not training the same. Nick, he might beat him. But so Brent Rockers could show up and do that, but the parity is built in because you don't know who's going to show up to knock someone's plan off course. So the 165 guys, they might end up winning the BMF belt because they show up every time. And let's say Roman is up in Iowa 3 or 4 hours away. If he decides he's a good Christian guy, I don't think he really subscribes to the bad motherfucker mentality, but maybe in the back of his head he wants that belt. So he comes down, walks through 165 every time, does pretty well in the BMF class. At the end of the thing, he probably walks away with that belt pretty easily because the parity wouldn't be built in. But the idea is there's a lot of parity built in because anybody could win anytime, and you can't predict how many people are going to be in any class. So it's not just a guaranteed heavyweight belt. It's not just a guaranteed 200-pound belt because the parity creates that thing where the 200-pound class might be in the middle of the weight seating, but there's no guarantee that the 242 class isn't the biggest class. There's 10 or 15 people in it every single time, where the 200 class or the 198 class only has 5 or 6 guys one turn. So you miss out on those points.
Yeah, I got you. I guess a better way would have been. I mean, you know kind of what you get with Fallen Heroes, right? Like you've seen the results you get in the different weight classes, and you've done different tournaments at different times throughout the year. So I just didn't know if you had kind of guessed over the 4 tournaments, kind of did mock that and thought, hey, I do think this many people are going to show up here, and I think this time we're going to have one person that's not going to show up in the rest of these. And did you go through all those scenarios at all to kind of see how it plays out?
I've gone
Get
through probably
just to get the structure.
I've gone through about a million scenarios in my head already, just because that's how my brain works. But essentially, yeah, I'm kind of planning on just not the same person showing up and winning every single class. It's just so, even with Fallen Heroes, it's so unpredictable year to year. One year I'm thinking, man, I'm giving, a couple years ago, for example, I'm giving away these $200 giant 4-foot axes. I'm going to get 500 entries. I had semi-pro classes because I was like, there's just going to be too many people. End up getting like 250 entries, less than the year before. It was, pretty disappointing. So it's just, how it goes. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's what's around it. I'm kind of backs against the wall with Fallen Heroes because it's around Arnold Classic time. It's going to be around the Nationals in Cincinnati, but it's just one of those things where there's always going to be tournaments around you. You can't really help it. So I wish it was more predictable, just like I'm sure you do with Strongest Badge. You wish you could predict it because then you could know how much money to spend. But you just gotta.
The answer is less. That's the answer. Yeah. Less.
No, I was just talking to you about that yesterday. Whenever you were telling me about the venue costs, I was like, I think I'm just going to go back to a bar and make them pay me to do this because it's just not something that you can start at in such a big hole. I love the people who get on, what is it, Arm Wrestling Uncensored, and just say, oh, I don't know how these promoters aren't making money. Like, well, if I was getting $2 medals and giving you shit awards and then banking $50 a class, maybe, but the quality promoters aren't doing that. They're not giving out, like Sean Hancock is doing a ton of stuff, but I'll find out pretty quick how much these medals cost, and I'm sure they're not cheap. He's probably spending 10, 15 bucks a medal. That still equates to quite a few entries just to cover costs. And then you start banking how much you spend on travel, getting people involved with the tournament, paying refs, just miscellaneous costs along the way. It just is not something where you really make a lot of money. So that's why I'm trying to get the interest up too, because I'm an attorney. I don't have the spare time to be wasting. I can justify it for Fallen Heroes, and I can lose my ass on Fallen Heroes because at the end of the day, I'll write a $5,000 check out of my pocket to give to them because it's a charity. One, I can write that off on taxes. Two, it's a great cause. It's twofold. I don't really get much benefit from tax deduction because that doesn't really go 1-for-1 necessarily. But at the end of the day, I can sleep better knowing that I do a tournament I like. It's a charitable event. They give me a VIP table to their Guns and Hoses event, and I get a good feeling from donating money to this. But if I'm doing BMF belts and just finding out who the baddest motherfucker is that decided to show up and pull, and it ends up being Joe Blow from the middle of Oklahoma that nobody's heard of. That kind of defeats the purpose. And if I lose my ass at the same time, it's just like, well, I probably could have made more money doing anything else, or probably not lost money doing something else. So I'm hoping doing this, the I'm hoping that the medals that say BMF and baddest in the class, and that's just something that people want. I want a class that says bad mother. I want a medal that says bad motherfucker. I have plenty of medals that say, you know, XYZ bar championship, or Missouri State or whatever. They're great. I love awards in general. If anybody ever wants to test how much I love awards, come look at my garage. It's covered in them. And I want a new type of medal, just like everybody else does. The same reason I do Access, same reason you do Gladiator Awards. You want to give people an incentive to come to your event for something different. So that's what I'm doing here is, what can I do that's not going to kill me? The holy grail of arm wrestling tournaments is handing out a bunch of money, but that isn't feasible unless you're Steve Kaplan, or you have something else going on behind the scenes. And you got to give away a lot of money to get attention nowadays. It used to be $1,000 for first place. Got John Brezink, Travis Bajent, Cobra Rhodes, Alan Fisher, all of those guys there. Just look at the old ROTN events back from like 2007. I remember those because that's whenever I first started. Don Fritchie gave away $20,000 spread across those classes, and first place is like $1,500. You give away $1,500, you'll get the local guy. You'll be lucky if the local guys show up. Just crazy how much entitlement there is in arm wrestling now, especially when you're trying to set up super matches. You get random guys that you think you're doing them a favor by giving them the opportunity to pull somebody that is ranked higher than them, and they'll want, oh, I want $1,500 just for me to fart in your general direction. Well, I get it, man. I get it. But this is, I'm trying to help you out.
Nailed it. Yes, you were correct there. I think me and Bill's had a couple different conversations based on what you just said, and that's very accurate.
No, and don't get me wrong. I've been pulling for 18 years. I'm a pretty damn good arm wrestler, but I think that East versus West and the WAL Super Series and King of the Table, they're paying these upper level 1% arm wrestlers a lot of money, so these other guys think that they're do it. And there are people out there who are. Like, if I reach out to Luke Kent, for example, and say, hey, Austin Tevis wants to pull you, Luke has every right to say, well, I want money to do that. And I'm sure that's something that people have ran into. And I don't fault him for that, because Luke has been doing this for longer than I have. He's much better. He's better than Austin on paper. I want to see them pull and see where they end up. But right now, he's the man. Same with Jeff Hale. Jeff Hale hasn't been active. But if I reach out to Jeff and say, hey, do you want to come up and pull a match? And he says, no, I want $1,500 just to show up. All right, you've earned it. Same with so many other guys. But if you're an up and comer and I say, hey, I got this match with somebody ranked 3 spots ahead of you, I think it'd be great for your career to come get your name out there at this big tournament, get all these eyes on you. Here's the other people that have pulled in my tournaments and where they've gone from there. I'll help you get a room and get you here for, plane ride or whatever. And then they say, no, I want this money. All right. Well, maybe next time, buddy, because I can't spend, $10,000 on awards and another 10,000 on getting people here to pull, because I'm not doing a pay-per-view. I'm not doing things that make money. I'm getting you here to get attention to the tournament. And, let's just see what we can work out. The people I love the most in arm wrestling are Jordan Sill, Cody Merritt, those type of guys. But that's also relationship driven. Like, I've known Cody. He's been like a mainstay at tournaments for years. And I can call him up and just be like, hey, buddy, you want to come pull at my tournament? I got this young guy, Devin Gagnabin, I think is who he pulled last year. Devin wants to pull you. Yeah, man, just get me there. He is the top level heavyweight left-handed puller in the North America. And, I think Corey West has overtaken him, but I still would give Corey every chance to take that back at any point. And it's like, that's the type of people that I love, that will still just come out and do it because they love arm wrestling. But a lot of people are trying to make this into a business venture now, and it's just like, make a YouTube channel and see if you can get 200,000 followers like Devin. That's the only way you're making money off this. You're not making $1,500 off me today.
Speaking of the super matches, are you going to set a limit to how many you're putting on at each tournament, or is it just going to be whatever you find? Because you are giving points out for that, right?
Yeah, if it gets out of hand, yeah, I'll put a limit. But I mean, even with that, I haven't had anybody, breaking down my door. I just don't think a lot of people understand how it works. I think maybe after this first tournament, Fallen Heroes is built in. Like, you're not getting on that card unless we need, undercard pullers. But you got to be a good puller to get on that card to begin with. No offense to anybody I say no to, but I'm trying to fill a card, and it's one of those things. Like, even amateur matches bring people. I like to get teams against teams. So I like to say, all right, who's a good puller from Oklahoma and who's a good puller from Nebraska? Let's have them pull each other, because then they'll want their three of their team members will want to come up with them. And then, three of their team members, or, who's a good person from St. Louis to come pull somebody out here in Kansas City, or who's somebody from Colorado. You get it. But that type of stuff is what I want for these BMF series. I'm not thinking every tournament's going to be, I'm really just, if I get to 150 entries for each tournament, I'm going to be thrilled.
And you got a lot of classes, because what you're doing, seven classes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, don't remind me,
that's
because I still
14.
got to get that bill for the medals.
Well,
So,
Fallen Heroes is going to be the second one. That's normally going on next month, right? This month or next month or last month.
yeah, last
Um,
month usually.
what did you change that just because of your family deal, or is there something else going on with like a venue or anything with the tournament to move it back to March? And is that taking place of the NatFit tournament that you and Brian put on, or Brian puts on
That's
around that
that's
time?
that's all Brian. I don't want to take credit for his tournaments by any means. But no, Fallen Heroes, I moved it strictly because I had a baby. I wasn't about to try and run a big tournament like that with a 3 week old. You know, my wife and I were still trying to figure out how to get any sleep. So um, I knew that that was just not going to work. I wanted a time that seemed to work best, and I asked Brian, hey, do you care if I take your time for NatFit? He said, yeah, I don't really, he just has a lot of stuff going on right now himself, and he doesn't really want to put on a tournament. So it's like, that's fine. I'll do this. And then a couple of days later, I was like, I think I'm going to do this tournament series, and um, I kind of take up the rest of the year. Do you care? And he said no. So my idea is March for this year and kind of play it by ear. If March just falls flat on its face and I just, get even less entries than I did last year, then might switch it up again. Because July seemed like it worked well for you, and it's a pretty good uh, distance between the end of September. But September always ran into issues with worlds, with uh, hunting season. Apparently no arm wrestler is a good enough hunter to miss a day of hunting, so they always tell me they're busy. And then it's March. I'm worried because of Arnold's and Nationals in April, and then that big 12-man round robin a couple weeks afterwards. It's just, but it's one of those things. I schedule Fallen Heroes a year in advance most years, and still get stacked on top of. There's 7 events last year on top of it, and then same with you. I'm sure I'm taking strongest badge into account with whenever I want to schedule this last one. What's strongest badge, like July 22nd next year, something like that?
Should be. I'm still considering an biannual thing with
Well,
that
if you want
too.
that
So
September date, it's all yours next year, because I'll run that. I'll run the finals in July, but let me know when you get that figured out. Because if yours is going to
definitely.
be not in July, I'll run the finals in July. But I want to give you at least a month. That's kind of my, if you're close by, I tell this to Denise. I beg and plead with her, please don't do a Brewski's event within a month, and it's always like a week or two ahead of and
Oh yeah,
after Heroes.
for
So
sure.
it's just, I'm gonna call her and be like, hey, here's the events I'm running. Can you give me a month? And then she'll probably tell me no, and I'll just deal with it. But it's one of those things. Like, there's always going to be events. It's funny because you see all these promoters come out of the woodwork, and I think they think there's money in it, and then they find out pretty quickly there's not. Um, I think people think Denise lives out on a ranch in Montana, like Yellowstone style, on a mansion, just running arm wrestling tournaments on the side. And I'm like, pretty sure she runs a not for profit. And that's because she knows that there's no profit in this. She uses arm wrestling as a platform to sell herself awards, make t-shirts and make money off of it. She uses arm wrestling as a way to do other things that benefits her real career. And people want to make money off of arm wrestling, but I'm fully convinced the only way to make money off arm wrestling is YouTube. So, yeah, what you guys are doing here, that's how you build up a YouTube channel and hope that people follow and listen and you get clicks and make money because Devin Lorette, Michael Todd, ET, and I can't even think of the other one, Larry Wheels, those types of guys, those are the guys that are going to make a living off arm wrestling. The only other person, and the original person who ever made money off arm wrestling was Travis Bajan. And he did that by getting sponsors, tons and tons of sponsors. I'm guaranteed that he made more money than anybody off arm wrestling before YouTube just because he's Travis Bajan. Not everybody's Travis Bajan. You got to be the best in the world at certain points, and you got to have one of the most entertaining personalities you ever met. And that ain't me. I don't know if it's you guys. So it's like there's just not a lot of ways to make money off it.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah, now his son's an NFL star, so he's going to be pretty set. He's not going to have to worry about anything once maybe Tyson will take over for Justin Fields, and we'll all get sweet tickets to a Bears game. Maybe he'll buy out the whole stadium for us poor arm wrestlers one of these days.
Travis ain't. That's for sure.
No, but that's kind of it's a funny sport with people do everything to try and make money off of it. Just there's not a lot of ways to make money off of this damn thing. It's a cash spender, not a cash earner.
Well, let me ask you: are you the baddest motherfucker in the Midwest?
When I get that belt for a few weeks, I will be. No, that's the worst part. I used to think I sucked at arm wrestling, man, because there's so many bad motherfuckers in the Midwest. I go to every tournament, get my ass kicked by Bill Ogston, think, why would I even waste my time? And then lo and behold, I travel a few times and like I actually am pretty good if Bill's not here. And I've been ranked a couple times, both hands. I might be ranked right now, left-handed, I think. And I'm not anywhere near the baddest. I'm not even the baddest motherfucker at my practice anymore. I was for a while. I can live on that. Back in my day, whenever I first started my practice, I was the baddest dude. And then Don Underwood started showing up. Austin Tevis started showing up. Got this guy named Luis from Puerto Rico. Stephen Logsdon comes down. We got a lot of young guys coming up the ranks, and that's why I want this belt to be out there with somebody. The end idea is this is a bad motherfucker belt. Just like the BMF belt in the UFC, this person defends that belt. They take a super match and they defend it. I'm not going to dictate what they can hang it on their wall and never use it, but it's kind of like the legacy hammer. I love the fact that Devin lost right-handed and gave that hammer away. That's kind of the same idea I want with this. Like, I want you to call out super matches with other bad motherfuckers. Like, let's say I win it, I know I'm not John Berzink, so I'm not going to be like, this is a belt for the best arm wrestler. I want to call out somebody I know that I'm close with, that we're going to bang out and have a killer match. And that's like, I forgot about this, but
like Matt Ellis left-handed.
Yeah. Like, I don't know.
I need to lose a little bit of weight before we match up. I think I'm a little heavy right now.
So it's one of those things. Yeah, I mean, like Ethan Mercer, guys like that. Like, but I don't even know if those are even the matches I want. Like, I want matches like guys that are going to go inside and bang out, have 30-second hook matches. The perfect example is Jake Smith in California and Kevin Harris in 2021. I was out in California a couple weeks after Nationals that year, and I went to a UAL event. Well, I know Kevin and Roger Nowatzki really well. Kevin had a super match with Jake Smith. Little did I know they're pulling for this chain, about this big that says bad motherfucker on it. I forgot about this until what's his name? The guy that owns UAL. I can't think of his name right now.
Bill
Bill
Collins.
Collins.
Bill Collins. How did I forget Bill Collins' name? Um, he posted on my thing in just a picture of the chain, oh, this is a great idea. I was like, oh, damn, somebody already did it. But he posted that, and Jake Smith and Kevin Harris had Kevin Harris is in his 50s. I almost thought he was going to die after the match. They had just minute-long hook matches, starting over with elbow fouls, each side elbow fouling. And I would say it's a 30-second match. And Jake Smith is a trained fighter, does all this cardio. Even he was about to die after the match. It was just incredible. That's the bad motherfucker I want winning this belt. Is somebody who's going to take a match like that and know that I'm not going to win this easy and I'm not going to lose it easy. So, and it's not like I don't want Michael Todd to win it and then think that he has to pull Levon to defend it, like that. I want Michael Todd to win it and then pull somebody like, I don't know, Devin. Just this is like hypothetical, where they know they're gonna have or Jerry's probably a better match, where they're gonna have a grinder, like just a bad motherfucker. Whoever wins this match is a bad motherfucker. I'm not the baddest, but I'm a bad motherfucker after I win this match.
Yeah. Ethan Mercer fits that bill. I think he would jump in for something like that for sure. Uh, I feel like you're in those grinders. Bo Olson comes to mind.
Oh yeah.
First person I thought of was Bo. I was like, has him written all over it just based on his style and how he is. Yeah, this
Oh
is.
yeah. Well, and Bo's from around here. He's one of
Yeah.
my top picks to win this whole thing. That 220 class was made for him essentially. So, and that's the other reason why I added so many different weight classes, was just to give people the opportunity to not feel like they're pulling somebody 20 pounds heavier. It's 11-pound increments. So, if you can't make 87, 98 is not that big of a jump. If you can't make 97, 220 between, or if you can't make 98, 220 is a lot better than 230 or 242. And I've already had a few people reach out and say, we just don't see that many 242 classes anymore because 230 is like the IFA style anymore. So I'm like, I just want these classes to fill up. I want people to get the opportunity to pull, have their opportunity to compete. Whether, you don't have to come thinking you're going to have a chance at the BMF belt. Just these medals are going to be reason enough. Like, I want to win a medal. These medals are going to be badass. So the medals, the competition, just the atmosphere, just being involved in a series. My long-term goal would be do a series where each tournament adds to a pot that eventually gets distributed at finals, and it's a big pot at the end of the rainbow. But kind of like what Greg's doing out there in California right now is he's doing more money than most people would hope to hand out. You don't hear hardly anything about it. It's because first prize is $2,000, and it's like that's not enough for people anymore to get excited about. It's like, and I understand it because a trip out to California is going to cost you $2,000, so you better hope you win. Goes back to my point. There's no money in arm wrestling. You gotta create that YouTube channel, get those clicks and likes.
Well, that doesn't make money anywhere, at least not for me. But what I can do is try to get Gateway involved for sure. We'll be trying to
Actually,
become a bad motherfucker because we do
that's
have some
one more thing I
BMFs
want
on
to
this
talk to
team.
you about. I'll put you on the spot here. So one thing I'm going to do is have remote weigh-ins. I think I've talked to you about this before. I'm going to try it with Mocan State. If it works well, I'm going to do it with Fallen Heroes. Get people more involved. That way, it's a day trip for you guys out in St. Louis. It's a day trip for the Nebraska crew. It's a day trip for the Oklahoma crew and Springfield crew. These little pockets of larger groups where I wish we had more people show up. I want people that I can trust that have ran tournaments before to do remote weigh-ins for me. That way you can, because I trust you, Bill. You're not going to let Matt pop on the 76 class unless he makes 76.
I think
And
he's
that's,
76 right now.
yeah. So that's the type of thing that I want to do is set up these remote weigh-in spots. I already have Nebraska and Springfield on board. Do you guys want to do a gateway weigh-in?
Yeah, man, I would not have a problem with that. I could take
So
care of that.
here's what I'm going to do. Here's my plan to make this all legit. I'm an attorney. I'm in an audit field. I do regulation. Part of that's an audit job. So to make this legit, I'm going to send everybody the same scale. I'm going to buy just a decent scale, Bluetooth, whatever, the one that I use at my weigh-ins. Everybody's going to have the same scale, and you're going to record the weigh-ins. Yeah, give somebody something to cover up their dick if they're weighing in way naked or whatever. But you're gonna say hi. I'm Matt Ellis. Hold up his phone so you can see the time and date. Because iPhones have the date and time. So you do that. Then you say, all right, step on the scale, go down, see the number. You don't have to show it to me, but if I ask you, hey, I have you weighed in 12 pros. I want to see Matt's. I want to see Bill Schumer's because he's probably going to walk through his class pretty easy, and I want to see Brent Rocker's weigh-ins. So that way I can audit it and make it legit. But that's kind of my plan. We'll see how it works for Mocan State if you guys are on board. Matt, you don't have to do it. Whatever you guys. I don't know how close you live to each other, but it can be in your garage. It can be wherever you want to do it. Just get those weigh-ins. Just send me a list of people, and then tell them they need to be to the venue by 10 a.m. So you got to leave a little early the next day, but it saves you a night at a hotel, and it can be a day trip if you don't want to spend a whole weekend. So that's kind of my thought process. Make these more attainable. That's the name of the BMF series for me, is make tournaments attainable for the surrounding areas in the Midwest and get other people from outside the Midwest to come and get their ass kicked by the Midwest.
Like that.
Definitely could happen. I like the idea. Matt, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's always been something in the back of my mind is why, with all the technology we have now, why is this not a thing before? Because with the way inflation's been in the past 12 to 24 months, I mean, a lot of people don't want to travel as far or as frequent. And they don't want to do day in weigh-ins because everybody cuts weight. So I think this is a great opportunity to really bolster the potential numbers to the tournament. And I think it should go very smooth as long as you have consistent people that you can rely on at each location. I think it's a great idea, and it's different, which is, to me, different in arm wrestling is a great opportunity to keep expanding the sport in the right direction. So I
well,
like
and that's sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off either, but that's kind of the idea behind it is let's give it a shot with Mocan State. It's not Fallen Heroes, it's not Strongest Badge, it's not Michigan State. See how it goes. I trust Bill. He runs Strongest Badge. Everybody knows that he's reputable, knows what he's doing. I got George Ellis and Drew Kimenow up in Nebraska. They run events. They have a whole group. I trust them to be more stringent than I will. And I'm going to reach out to some guys in Oklahoma. I think Jim Coyle and Cody Dollar, I know them both pretty well. And I trust them to hold themselves to a standard because they run their own tournaments. So the only people they're hurting is their own reputation. If, Matt comes in at 220 and what pulls the 240 or 176 class. Well, Bill's going to get some weird looks. I'm going to say, well, Bill, I trust Bill. He told me that Matt weighed in. So, well, Matt put on 47 pounds overnight. It was a hell of a cut. So that's kind of the idea. We'll see how it works. If people are complaining or don't trust people, I don't really see why they would, because like I said, we're using reputable people I trust. I'm not going to get, and then down in Springfield, I have Dalton Cross and Alan, his dad. They're going to help me do the weigh-ins down there because I'm trying to pick places that have a large group of pullers. So Oklahoma, there's some guys there I think that would come up here and beat a lot of guys. They just don't travel. So I'm hoping that if I get Jim to do those weigh-ins and get, Jeff or Justin Joyce or Corey Johnston or some of those guys to really push them to get up here, we can see some of them come up because I do think that a lot of them get overlooked. Then there's a lot of strong guys out in, Springfield, for example. And then you have the Nebraska guys. You got Wallace Dilly and some of the young up and comers out in Kansas and Hutchinson, which I'm not going to give them the opportunity to do a remote weigh in because they're all heavyweights, but they can come in the day of and weigh in just fine. But that's kind of the idea. They're in Lincoln, so it's an hour outside of Omaha, but there's more people in Lincoln at this point. I don't know how far away you guys in St. Louis are from most of the people in your vicinity, but they can drive out, weigh in, and then go home and drive the next day, just get up a little earlier. It's just the general idea. We'll see how it works.
I'd say most people are within an hour. We have a couple further than that out, but I would say most are within an hour. So
Name of the game. And if it works well. We can maybe get it set up for other tournaments. I'm glad we get to do this test run before Fallen Heroes because I don't want Fallen Heroes to be the first one. see how it works out for this one. If it works great, we'll do our Fallen Heroes. I mean, hell, maybe we can get 200 entries in the general vicinity of Kansas City, St. Louis, and all the surrounding areas. Because if we can do it for that, why couldn't you do it for, a lot of tournament in Oklahoma or a tournament in Nebraska? Things like that. It's about building, I guess, remote locations with people that you trust. You know, I whoop Bill's ass at fantasy football every week in our dynasty league, so it's like I think he trusts me at this point to not mess with the tournament and mess with his own brand. I mean, at the end of the day, it's your own brand. If I'm giving you the opportunity to do something like this, it doesn't it hurts my tournament, but I think it hurts you overall more. If Nebraska guys let somebody slide and it gets out or I find out, it's going to hurt them and their group more than it would hurt my tournament because I just misplaced my trust. And I learned from that where they are perceived as not being trustworthy at all anymore. So,
Now, trust me, if Gateway wins, we're gonna win legit. That's how we roll.
well, the
Uh,
worst thing is if you let Matt pull the 76 class at 240 pounds and then he still loses to Austin. Just
Hey,
not a great feeling.
I'm gonna tell you right now, there's a good chance of that.
I think there's a good chance for anybody to do that. That dude's pissing me off.
I'll tell you what, that I don't know if I've ever seen anybody in the sport have that type of trajectory that quick. Just
No.
the raw talent and how far he's gotten to this point. In my opinion, outside of Bo, um, I would consider him another favorite from a lighter weight perspective that could come through this thing and probably be in the top three pretty
Yeah,
easily.
the only reason I would not think that he had that is because he cuts weight, where Bo will just pull that 220 class, probably walk in each time. And he has a lot of other stuff going on. Like he's not gonna be able to pull Fallen Heroes because he's pulling Arnold's and then he's also pulling that round robin 2 weeks after Fallen Heroes. So he misses out on a whole tournament. Where Bo will probably pull super matches, pull every tournament. But Austin could also walk through a BMF class if the heavyweights get tired pulling each other. So it's I'm interested to see what happens. I'm excited about the BMF class because you get to see a lot of fun matchups. Like I did a overall 1 year where the top three from every class, amateur and pro, got into a random overall that was randomly generated.
I remember
And I
that
think
one.
I think I had Ethan Fritchie pulling like Cody Merritt at one point. Just a lot of weird matchups that you're like, I wonder what would happen. Well, Ethan got his ass kicked. That's what happened. But it's still like just creates a fun kind of side. Even like what would happen if I pulled John Jennings left-handed. So, or what would happen if Ethan Fritchie showed up and he had to pull Austin for the first time. Speed press against whatever the hell Austin does. So
Yeah.
it's I think it creates a lot of interesting matchups, especially whenever I'm going to try and run the heavyweights quick and get them tired in the BMF class. Give them the opportunity to pull their regular class normal because the BMF class isn't going to have any awards. That's why it's half price. The only thing it's going to benefit you from is get the extra points and get the extra matches to get the extra points, get the extra placing. So
I have to ask, you brought up a situation that I've thought about here in the past 12 months, and you're close to both of them. So, hypothetical situation, say Ethan shows up to a tournament randomly, because he's done
yeah.
that before and just
Oh
ran
yeah.
through people. How do you see that matchup between him and Austin going?
So
Austin all day.
Ethan, oh yeah, Austin, easy. Ethan was coming out to practice. I talked him into pulling for about a week or two, and then he got scared again. But I think part of it was he pulled Austin and it didn't go well.
Oh, really?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I did.
Austin's too strong. Like no, and it's just the way Austin has too much hand, but
Yeah.
also Ethan wasn't pressing, but I think Austin's strong enough at this point, training with me in a hook that he can catch a press. So
Okay. I was just curious because Ethan's move is so predicated on speed, and a lot of people don't realize how quick he is when he gets to that spot. A lot of people aren't ready for it, but I was curious how that
Austin's
would play out.
Austin's move is speed too, so he might negate it. But if Ethan got his press off, I think there's every chance. But I just don't think I think Austin could catch him
Yeah.
in a hook or a top roll or anything. Kind of like what Greg Allen does to Ethan. He can catch Allen just off that bicep string.
Yep. Definitely. Interesting.
Your
I've been
masters,
thinking about
Sorry, go ahead.
your master's class is 45 plus, not 40.
That's because of guys like Bill Ogston, who were 40 whenever I first started doing this, and now he's 45 and he's pulling masters. So it's like, ah. But
Ready to
yeah,
come off again?
my idea, arm wrestling, you're kind of hitting your peak at 40. Like you're kind of in the middle of your peak arm wrestling strength at 40. And it's not like most sports where you start to decline. I almost think masters should be switched to 50.
That's your grandmasters.
Oh yeah, because everybody has to get a medal, right? I just that's kind of my view. That's why I made it 45 was because Bill Ogden was 40, and I was like, Bill can't be beating up these old guys. And now Bill Ogden's 45. I'm like, Bill can't be beating up these old guys, but Bill's kind of an old guy now. So like I let Bill pull those old guy classes because he's getting old.
So is it 40? You have to be 45 or you have to turn 45 that year?
You have to be 45.
Oh, he's so strict. All the time, he's so strict.
Are you not 45 yet?
I'm 44.
Uh,
I'll be 45 halfway through the series. So,
there you go. I mean, it's not like a all or nothing series either. I have to decide where Masters falls into play too. What's your opinion? Should Masters count towards pro?
I don't know if I have a. I mean, aren't you? It shouldn't matter, right? Or didn't amateurs not counting into that too?
No, amateur get
'Cause that's
have
a
their
separate
own.
thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna get them a hammer. That's not a belt. I'm gonna get them just a hammer that says BMF Amateur Champion. Um, my thought is pro because Michael Todd can pull amateur or pull masters. You know, Bill can pull masters. It's not fair to label that an amateur class. So,
Yeah, and if
but
it's smaller, they're not getting as many points, right? So I mean, if
yeah,
you got 3, 4 guys in there, you're not getting the same. Maybe even lighten it up more.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing too. I'm not getting masters and ice medals and stuff like that because we don't get enough interest in the masters class. So I mean, I'm getting them medals, just 3-inch, regular medals that you see at most tournaments, but I'm not getting them the nicer medals. But I think counting them towards the pro awards is a good idea. So yeah, I think that's a settled thing.
I think it should be the year you turn 45. That's what I think.
We can talk.
Everybody deserves a medal, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide if I need to expand the masters classes for. I'm trying to get some sponsorship money for masters awards to get access for masters classes, and if I can do that, I might expand it to. When do you turn 45?
July.
Yeah, that's not going to be for. I'm trying to decide.
Don't rush me, man. Don't rush me.
Well, I was excited because WAF Worlds is in Canada in 2027. I was like, oh man, I might be 40. No, I'm just gonna be 39. So I know how you
But
feel.
do you turn that year?
No,
Oh, okay, because that's how it works with WAF, like IFA, all
I
that.
might. So I turned 36 in December.
Yeah,
So
you're
yeah,
good, man.
I could
You're
pull
good.
masters.
Yep.
I might make it where it's that year then.
There
I
we
mean, if
go.
that's legitimate,
No, that is how they do it.
yeah, if that's legitimately the rule for IFA and WAF, then that makes sense to me. I mean, it's not like that. It's that big of a benefit.
Yeah, if you're December, then you're December. You turn 40 this year.
No, in 2027.
Oh yeah, so like that whole year you could pull masters for sure.
Huh, interesting. That's good to know.
Get a year jump on everybody.
I may consider that. You may have just talked me into
I
creating
like it.
that
I
distinction.
like it. Next, I
But
just
the
got to
other
go
thing
for
I was thinking,
13 months.
if I can get a sponsor to help with access for masters, I may expand the weight classes to like 0 to 180. And I just like the 200-pound cutoff, but I'd like to have 3 different weight classes. So you think it would be 0 to 180, 181 to 220, and then 221 plus? You think that would be the best way to do that?
Yeah, when I broke it up into 3, I did 76 and 220, and
Oh,
then
okay. So then yeah,
221
80.
plus. But I ended up not getting enough people and went back to the 200 cutoff. But
Yeah,
that was
you
just
just
due
did
to
200 and 200 below,
Yeah.
200 plus.
But there's a lot of guys that are masters that are light, that are in that 176 range, right? That will pull masters, but then get really upset when they have to pull 200-pound guys.
That's
But
what I
then
was thinking.
there's no 200-pound guys, so it's tough to, you got the real heavy guys and you got the 176. So yeah, it's a tough deal, however you look at it.
Yeah, maybe if I push the axes, I'll kind of gauge it. I can buy some axes last minute if I get a lot of interest.
Yeah, but if
Or
you're
I'll
going to
just,
do 3, I think the 80 220 is pretty good.
yeah, no, I agree. I have a few axes of my own, so if anything, I'll just take the stickers off of those and give those to the old guys. They'll never notice.
Yep, we don't notice. We can't see shit. So what?
There you go. Well, guys, I don't know how long you
No.
usually do this for, but hopefully, if you have any more things we should cover about it, I think we covered everything, and hopefully, anybody who watched this walks away at least understanding what I'm trying to do. It's not trying to change the face of arm wrestling. I'm just trying to do something fun, and I really want to find out who the baddest motherfucker is that shows up to this group of tournaments, and that's going to be the person who pulls the biggest weight classes and can win the BMF class the most.
I like it. Matt, you got anything to add?
No, it's to me, it's very exciting. It's something new, something different, and I think it's a great opportunity to showcase a lot of the great pullers in the Midwest, and also draw in some other pullers outside the Midwest as well. I personally think somebody from the Midwest is going to win it, but I'm obviously biased to an extent, so I can't say who's going to win it, but it'll be interesting.
I agree, but Fallen Heroes, I don't know, Bill. I mean, whenever you decide if you're doing strongest badge or not, maybe we can talk about making strongest badge play into this, make it nice, even 5 events rather than 4. We'll see. I understand doing it bi-yearly. It's man,
Just
it's
a
a
lot,
lot to do
man.
these,
Yeah. And
especially the way
there's
you
a
do it.
ton
I
of
think I was
events
telling you.
anyway, so
What was that?
I said there's a ton of events too, so just kind of add to the exclusivity of it.
Yeah, I just it's just so much work, and I think I told you like, you know, I may just kind of lean into not being the presentation guy. I'll just give you a good tournament, show up, get some good awards, and I'm not going to have a fancy venue or a fancy backdrop. I'll just do it at a bar and create the old school arm wrestling atmosphere because I'm not a showman. I'm just doing this out of necessity because no one else around here is.
Well, there's one thing you do. You run that tight ship. I know it'll
Oh
get
yeah.
done quick. It'll get done fast. You run them straight through. So I appreciate everything you do. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. I hope your series is successful and that you don't lose your mind in the process because I know throwing all these events does take a toll sometimes. So
Oh yeah. No, I'm hoping to get everything just squared away and put it on as much autopilot as possible. But yeah, let's be in touch about that remote weigh-in stuff and let's see how that works out.
for sure.
All right.
Guess that's it. Another Armfighter report in the books. Remember, armfighter.com is the ultimate arm wrestling resource, America's best event calendar, and the official U.S. rankings. Stay strong, everybody.
I look at them all the time.